folks. It's time to kick it old school. Yeah.
Oh, Rodg, Herb and Rodg. I just got a notification. Herb and Rodg podcast is live. What if I hit join?
Oh my gosh. What will happen if you actually join?
Well, I'm going to say something. Herb is the greatest. Does it show up?
Really?
Anyway, yeah.
Really?
Look, wow, we've already got a. Hey, look, Herb. Thank you, random listeners.
Really? Okay.
Randomly tune in. Appreciate you for saying that. I just don't know who you are, Herb and Rodg podcast, but I
thank you for that. Watching Bammers at LSU. Is this Garrett?
Yeah, that is
Looks
Garrett.
like Garrett.
Yeah.
Guy. Shout out to Garrett. We appreciate you.
Garrett, you need to send us a Texas podcaster or somebody who wants to come on our show on Tuesday nights to talk some Texas.
we're gonna start entering in our summer series for Tuesdays, and we need like Herb said, a Texas guy, somebody big into Texas football that wants to come on for an hour for the show. So let us know.
Good. All right, Raj. Kind of out of our wheelhouse a little bit. We got some NBA going on tonight, right? So playing tournament is about to end up here tonight as we're on the air, and then playoffs like really get started tomorrow. But we had to bring on somebody who knew what they were talking about, so we didn't just look like idiots for an hour like we normally.
Speak for yourself.
Okay. Herb is really a great guy, really smart, funny, likes long walks on the beach. Is a very charming fellow. Speaking for myself. So anyway, Raj.
I walked into that one.
Yeah, you did. Sorry. Yeah. You should know me better by now. Raj, in college, he was simply known as the man.
The man.
And that has never changed. So
Gotcha.
Manuel, how are we doing today, sir? Good to see you.
Shout out to E.
You talking to me? Because when you talk about being the man, I thought you were still speaking for yourself.
Oh,
if you look at E's title, it basically sees E's the man. If you think about it,
it's French.
Yeah.
Very rare you get to be here. I thought in college I was known more as the GM than I was the man.
This is true. So, man, we got I guess a bunch of stuff to cover. We're gonna kind of jump right into it. What do you guys think? Like the play-in part of the playoffs? And are y'all fans of this part of the format? This add-on? Not fans? Like what? We'll start with you, E. What do you think about the play-in part?
I don't consider the play-in a part of the playoffs first. Okay. Oddly enough, the stats and stuff don't even count to your, career statistics and all that type of thing. But I think it does give a little bit of excitement for the fans of those teams. It's a do or die situation pretty much. And if your team happens to make the play-in game or play-in tournament, I should say, gives you a little bit more to look forward to. And the games generally are pretty tight, pretty close, and playoff atmosphere.
Raj, you on the same boat, or you?
Yeah. I like the games because they kind of give these teams like a fighting chance, and they show a little more intensity in some of these games than I think they would in some of the regular season games. With that being said, I never watch these games saying, hey, one of these teams is probably going to make it that far in the playoffs if they make it to the playoffs. If you get the 8 seed, if you luck up and get the 8 seed, you're probably going to lose to the 1 seed anyway. So just for watching like one or two nights, so it's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting to watch.
Miami is rolling their eyes at you.
Yeah.
If you lose the 9-10 game, though, do you feel like you were actually in the playoffs, or you kind of feel like you said it just never even matter?
You shouldn't.
Only if you're Miami.
Yeah,
they're the ones they've gone to the finals out of that 8 seed. They ended up winning. So there is hope for you if you make the 8 through 10, or fight your way into the 8 seed.
Yeah.
So, something that to pick up from something you kind of mentioned off air, though, any of the teams that are still alive in these last little 8-9 games or whatever, do any of them have a Jimmy Butler on the team that can propel them past that? So, and go ahead and use your phrasing, though. Tell everybody kind of how you broke it down with Miami versus Atlanta to start. Yeah, that's an elbow to the head and a smack to the face. Okay. Everybody fouling on the same.
Especially, you hear the guys on TNT say you got guys and you got dudes. And most of these teams in the play-in have dudes, but they don't have the guy who is going to take you over the top.
Right.
One exception is Trae Young, who has taken this team pretty far in the playoffs before, and he's propelling his team right now against Miami. They were down double digits for quite a while, and he's got them back in the lead, up by 4 at this moment. So that is probably the one team that's left in the play-in who's got a guy who can take you far in the playoffs.
Are you putting Trae Young in superstar status?
Yes. Trae Young is he's going to get you points. He's going to do it. He's going to hit those logo threes. He's going to dish out to guys. And they've really locked in on defense in this current game that they're in right now, and shown that they can play the defense that you need to get, into the playoffs and make some noise. So they're not good enough to go far this year. But they are good enough to, win a few games. And if not for going against Cleveland, Cleveland hasn't proven that they can do it in the playoffs either.
Yeah.
So I would give them a shot. I give them a puncher's chance, but even if they make the playoffs, I still expect Cleveland to beat them.
Yeah, I would think so too. I'm still not sold on Trae Young as a guy. I know he had one run, but I don't think it's been really anything.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like he was hovering around superstar status a couple of years ago. Herbert, I'm not sure if you remember, but there was one time you came out here and you and I went to go watch a game. I think it was the playoffs. I want to say it was the Hawks and the Bucks.
Yeah,
and we went to Texas Live out here and watched the game. That was the year, maybe 20. I want to say it was 21 or 22, maybe. I forget. It was the Hawks and Bucks, and that was his Trae Young's year around superstar status. But then since then, I think he's kind of hovering more around star status right now. But to E's point, he is the one carrying the Hawks. He has been since he's gotten there. If they can get a few more pieces, they can make a nice little squad. But again, if they win this game, like I said, I don't see them getting out of the first round or anything like that.
Yeah. From the outside, them trading Murray, kind of signified maybe we're kind of rebuilding, and then now there's a chance to make the playoffs still. So and you're watching a lot more of this than we are. So that's definitely an outside view of what's going on. I feel like Atlanta's almost playing with house money, as they were kind of resetting a little bit. Yeah. And then if they make this and make the playoffs, then they're just maybe ahead of schedule from where they expected to be at this point.
Yeah.
I think they're kind of in the two timelines scenario, which means you're in purgatory, because you've got the young guys like Reese's who can't hit a shot. He's not consistent at all. And then you got Trae Young, who, around 27, 26, 27, something like that. He's got a long prime going. So do you settle with the young guys and what they're going to do, or do you actually try to build a contender with Trae? And so they brought in the guy that they just traded. I'm sorry, I just blanked on his name. DeJounte Murray. He's not a star at all. You want him to be your number 2, but he's not a guy at all. He's he should be your 4th or 5th best player. So if they get another superstar along, if you pair Trae Young with Bam Adebayo, okay, I think you've got something there.
You talking about with this current team, with what they had after they got rid of Murray, and with the team they have now? You talking about?
Just either way, either team, because both of those teams have a lot of good pieces, but they don't have. Miami doesn't have a superstar. They've got a star, not a superstar, and they got a lot of good pieces. And Atlanta has a superstar, but a lot of misfit pieces just around him. So Okongwu is having a really good game tonight. He had a really solid season. You got a big who can score, who can rebound, block shots, shoot a little bit from outside, but he's young. Hasn't proven it long term. He hasn't shown what he can do, but he's a good, promising young piece.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I guess if you could merge the two teams, then maybe you got something right there. Yeah. But at this point, both of them are kind of stuck in the middle. To be in the play-in every year,
right,
without doing something drastic.
And Atlanta has the first pick from last year's draft on the team, but I don't think he kind of. Well, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't think he was gonna be like a great superstar. I wasn't even very familiar with his game. He's averaged 12 points a game this year. He only has 3 tonight though, so he's not really a big factor in tonight's game. And going forward, I don't know what Atlanta's picks are going to look like in this upcoming draft and who's all going to be in the draft. So to E's point, I mean, both teams are going to be rebuilding for the next few years to kind of get back to where they need to be.
Yeah. Miami doesn't really like rebuilds though, huh?
No,
so they've got like just enough talent to not be terrible.
Yeah.
Not enough talent to be great.
Not enough to make it to the second round. Yeah.
What'd y'all think about the Jimmy Butler saga with Miami this year?
You go ahead, E. Sorry.
If it was a daytime soap opera, I would have loved it because it's just a whole bunch of drama for no reason. Yeah. If you weren't going to pay the guy, then Miami should have gotten rid of him before the start of the season. If you're not going to pay him, because he's shown that I am not going to act civilized if you keep jerking me around or whatever. So they should have made that decision from the beginning. Part of the thing that I've heard is, they gave him a lot of extra benefits, not having to fly on the plane with the team, holding the bus for him to be late for this and that, whole lot of amenities that he got with the team. And, rightfully so when it's your number one guy, it's the type of stuff that happens. But once you give it to him, you can't take it back because you're going to lose him. And that's part of what it is. Leadership. Riley, in particular, came out publicly talking negatively about him, which was completely unnecessary. And you start trying to take the amenities away. Trade him.
To be fair, though, Riley's comment was based on him talking trash, though. Against the team he wasn't even available for. So it was a little back and forth. I don't think Jimmy Butler is innocent in this whole thing because he's still under contract for a whole year and just decided he was going to act a fool, which is a Jimmy Butler thing. But he's out here trash talking the Boston Celtics in a series that he missed. Like I don't understand where that comes from.
My question for you guys is: do you see this happening in Golden State too? After a period of time, he looks happy right now. The team's playing well; they're in the playoffs, etc. But do you think this is something? With the Steph Curry out there, with the Draymond, with Steve Kerr, do you think this is something that can happen in Golden State too?
I would expect a fist fight between him and Draymond.
That's why I threw Draymond's name.
Before I would hear ownership say something negative about him. Ownership, loves on their guys. Yeah. They always say positive things about whoever their guys are. And when it's time to ship them out, they will ship them out. If they can get something better or if they think it'll be best for the team. So I don't foresee him, they paid him up front, he's going to be like, I don't know, 38, 39, something like that when his contract is up.
Right.
Hopefully he won't be expecting a big contract after that. But Golden State has shown that they will take care of their guys as long as they're still productive. They're not going to talk bad about you in the media. And the only real threat is Draymond Green. Yeah.
I think Golden State has developed somewhat of a culture over the past decade or so. So I don't think they're going to let anybody come in there and just kind of ruin what they built. So again, he made a good point. Draymond said, listen, you got some beef. Hey, we can go in the locker room right now. We can talk this out however we have to and figure this out. And then let's just move on.
Yeah.
One thing about bullies, man, once they find somebody who's bigger and badder than they are, they tend to shut up.
Yep.
So I don't expect Draymond to do too much with Jimmy, because Jimmy does have these hands.
Yeah.
And he will gladly, I know it's Good Friday, he'll put hands on you for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Let's start with before we kind of go into picks, just Western Conference in general. What was your guys' biggest surprise Western Conference playoff wise?
Let's see. Can you pull up the graphic right quick?
You want the graphic on there?
Yeah. If you don't
the teams.
I guess
honestly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, and the play-in. No surprises. I mean, it's the play-in. I just like, I do it just like I do the NCAA tournament. It's just like whoever wins, like, wake me up and let me know then.
No. I mean, like, you don't have any surprises with how the bracket formed at all, period, in the playoff teams before we get into the play-in. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't know if that's where you were headed with that, but yeah, the play-in teams, I'm surprised the Kings fell so far, but it seems like maybe that was building for a little while.
I was surprised to see the Clippers get up to 5th because, and Herb and I were talking about this earlier today, like they, their seasons are always going to be dependent on how healthy Kawhi Leonard is. James Harden and Norman Powell can go out and do whatever they want to do, but if Kawhi Leonard's not healthy, they're not going to make a decent run. So they just kind of snuck up on me, obviously. I hadn't been paying attention to the Clippers for a while. Right. So to see them get that 5th spot in a potential series, that's going to be a good series. I wouldn't, just because Denver's ranked higher doesn't mean that they're going to win the series. That's going to be a hell of a series right there. So I was surprised at the Clippers to see them right there.
What you got?
I was surprised to see the Rockets.
That's what I thought would be number
climb
one.
to number 2. The Rockets climbing to number 2 was a huge shock.
Yes.
Shout out to Ime Udoka and his coaching job. They've got a whole lot of young guys with a lot of talent.
Team, yes.
And they can be up and down, but they balanced it with a few veterans. And Ime just has those guys number 1 on defense, doing what they need to do to win games, and they just have been pretty steady the whole year, knocking people off. And one of the Thompson twins, the one that's there,
yes. Amen Thompson, yes.
He has been a revelation this year. These guys, he's D'ing. I mean, he held Steph Curry almost scoreless in a game they had here in the regular season not that long ago. So he's dialed in. He's super athletic. They've got a really good mix of young guys and veterans. And we're gonna see when they play Golden State, how it goes, because they got those young legs and a great coach. So we'll see how that goes. Be very surprised that they made it up to number 2.
Yeah. I thought that was going to be the first one. When I said surprise, I was like, I didn't see this come. I was wondering if other NBA folks saw this one coming, because I didn't.
No, I didn't see that either.
Coming in. So, disappointments. It feels like the Kings or possibly the Suns, who were just seem to be really, really aimless at that point. Is there anybody that's in there that's worse off than those 2 teams, you think, at this point? Or
not really. I mean, you look at a team like Dallas, and obviously with their situations going on. I mean,
the worst trade of all time. Is that what you're saying?
It was the trade, and then Kyrie getting hurt, and then Anthony Davis. He got hurt the very first game he played in Dallas. If they had a really, really healthy team, despite the trade, defensively they got a lot better, and they still have enough scoring on that team to make a deep playoff run. But that's just always going to be the big question. I mean, Kyrie tore his ACL, so we don't know in what March, I believe. So at best, he makes it back in December, maybe. I don't know how good his rehab is going to be. And then
they put a January timeline on him right now.
Yep. So even with that being said, I mean, you have to cross your fingers that Anthony Davis can stay healthy enough until Kyrie gets back in. So it's just going to be a really, really interesting situation they have there. But again, if they can keep that team healthy next year, I think they can make it, a deep playoff run. I don't know if that answers your question, but I was just curious about Dallas there.
Yeah.
Definite biggest disappointment in the NBA is the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
Some people predict they might make the Western Conference Finals or even the finals this year with two superstars. How you have two superstars on your team and not even make the play-in is just awful. Unbelievable. And if we could fire the owner, then that's what should happen. In this case, is just to get rid of the owner because he's the one that's pushing these buttons and making the GM trade for guys and trade away the future for a team that was just in the finals a few years ago. But as far as the teams who are in the play-in, so I mean,
they lost to Milwaukee.
It's crazy. You trade away that whole team that went to the playoffs and just get rid of everybody except for Devin Booker.
That seems like,
but of course we've got
decades ago at this point.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, my bad.
Yeah, it does. But then we've got the joke of the playoffs or play-in, I should say, in the Dallas Mavericks. Nico Harrison trading away probably the most promising superstar in the game at 25 years old when the trade happened.
Yeah.
And he's been doubling down on it. We traded him away and we got, don't worry, we got Mr. Street Clothes over here who's going to save us and win us a championship in the next 2 or 3 years. It's like, come on, man. You trade, not that I'm mad because I'm a Lakers fan, but come on, man. You trading Luka?
Yeah.
Come on. So he's getting booed by, they've got security with him every time they have a home game and he's there.
Yeah.
But then he goes on the road and he get in the regular seat. Nobody bothers him. But yes, they want him gone.
If y'all watched the Lakers Mavs game when the Lakers were here at American Airlines, was it 1 or 2 weeks ago, whatever that was. Every time Luka touched the ball, the crowd was cheering for Luka. They were cheering him on. Every time he made a shot, they giving him standing ovations and stuff like that. So,
dude,
just think about that. Your opposing team, you're supposed to have home court advantage, but really the Lakers had home court advantage that night, and that just lets the GM know how bad of a job he did.
Or should know. I don't think it's like what he said earlier. He's doubling down. I don't honestly think he realizes how bad he. But this is the most unprecedented thing you've probably ever seen trade wise. The last superstar to get traded, right, without requesting a trade. I mean, that's hard pressed. The last one to get traded in the middle of the season without requesting a trade, without being notified of the trade until it happened. Like that, these are things that don't happen. And then to y'all's point, I mean, somebody pointed out right after, what is Luka? Top 5 guy, right? Easily.
Yeah.
How do you not hold almost an auction if you're willing to trade a top 5 guy? You didn't get like what Rudy Gobert got. You didn't get what Kevin Durant got past his prime. Like there's Murray. What got more in his trade with the Pelicans? And I don't understand how you trade it and how you lock in for one guy who's older and much more injury prone.
Yeah, and Anthony Davis is early 30s, but like in his body though is more like 45 though. I mean, he's been through it, man.
There's zero justification for this.
There isn't. So the only way Nico Harrison could kind of justify this is, again, if next year their team magically all just stays healthy and they make it to the Western Conference Finals or the finals, then he could say something. But there's just so many things have to fall into place for that to happen, and I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't either. Here, the lesson for everybody: if you name your kid Nico, they're going to make bad decisions. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, what were you saying?
They've already lost $10 billion in revenue from ticket sales and partners, advertising partners and that type of thing. They've already lost about $10 billion from making this move. So unless he was messing around with the owner's wife or daughter or something like that, it's got to be something that comes out later that was just completely preposterous for him to do. And at this point, I haven't heard anything.
Right.
And it just sounds like Nico Harrison is not very smart.
Yeah, and I that's what I thought it was too. I thought it was something that happened internally that we just wouldn't find out about for a while. But The only real issues you had were, okay, Luka's out of shape, and then, reports of Luka's 270 pounds. None of that stuff was true. But I'm thinking if this guy's out of shape or he likes to have a beer from time to time, that's something you could talk to him about. You're paying him enough money. You just sit down, get him with a nutritionist or whatever the case may be, and y'all can figure that out, because obviously he did a good enough. He was of the right size to take you to the finals last year. So
that's my point.
So, hey, if having a beer is helping him out, let him have some more beer. So I don't know, just don't get rid of him overnight like that.
No. That was awful.
Yeah,
that was awful. Speaking of getting rid of people, though, what about the late firings of the Memphis coach, and then the Nuggets doubling down on that? Where E and I had some good conversations about that. You want to take the lead there? I guess the Denver one was even. We thought the Grizzlies waited a long time, and Denver said, "Hold my beer, I got another surprise for you."
Yeah, the Denver firing seems like there was a long-standing grudge between the GM and the coach, Michael Malone, for several years. It was definitely a grudge to the point where the coaching staff and that side of people and the office staff did not talk to each other. They didn't intermingle. They didn't talk because they were afraid that they would be reprimanded by whoever their, boss was, whatever.
Right.
It got to be that bad, and it feels like ownership was like, okay, we can't let the coach stay and make a deep run in the playoffs, because then we're going to have to keep him again. And they were like, okay, let's just fire him here at the end of the season so we can make sure we don't have to keep him long term again. So there was talk that he would have got fired a couple of years ago. But then they went and won the championship. So, of course, you can't fire the coach if he wins you a championship, not immediately anyway. And so they had a small losing streak at the end of the season. Like, all right, here's our chance to get rid of him. And they did. Got rid of the coach and the GM. So it was just unfortunate for him, but we'll see if they have a plan to bring in somebody better. The question is, can you find somebody better? Because he's the winningest coach you've had in history. He brought you your only championship.
Right.
Is Phil Jackson coming out of retirement?
Yeah.
Is Tyronn Lue going to leave the Clippers and come over? Who's the better coach that you're going to find? And so that's what we're going to do.
And you got home court in the playoffs, too. So,
No. And E, to his credit, that was one of the first reasons he texted me, Rodg, was they didn't want him to win anymore. I was like, this is crazy. It's like, these are the reasons I got for you, Herb. Take him early. I was like,
the smartest thing to do is just, if you're thinking about firing him, just wait till after the playoffs, and then they'll let him go. Then you can.
But that's what he said, though. They were worried that if he did win, they couldn't get rid of him. I was like, these are terrible reasons. But I mean, if they're the reasons, they're the reason. Now, of course, I didn't know as much about all the infighting and stuff. I was surprised they got rid of both, but I think they said the infighting was so unprofessional that both of y'all are out the door. So my question to you guys, what do you guys think? Like, Jokic has always kind of seemed more about the other stuff than basketball. Like, basketball is almost like a hobby that he's just really, really good at. But where do you really think his mindset is when something like this goes down?
I mean,
obviously,
I hate to say he doesn't care, but he's probably. I think his mentality is more like I'll just let the suits handle all that. My main focus is just going to be whatever I can do on the court, because that's all I can control. He might come out and make a comment like, he and Mike Malone were on good terms, whether they were or whether they weren't. But there's not really too much he can do about it. And to your point, Herb, I think sometimes he'd rather be riding his horses back home as opposed to dealing with some of this mess anyway. So. He can only control what he can control, so he's just going to move on and help his team in the playoffs.
What do you think?
I've heard it's a misconception that Jokic doesn't really care about basketball and doesn't love it. Nobody puts up the types of numbers that he puts up and doesn't really live and breathe the game. Now, the stuff outside of the game, like when they talk about the parade and the interviews.
And I think that's probably where it comes
marketing,
from. Marketing,
all those types of things.
You're right.
Those are the things that he doesn't care for so much. But as far as the actual game goes, absolutely lives and breathes basketball. So I've heard that he was not happy with how he was being used, that his usage was too high. And Malone had a reputation for not wanting to bring along the younger players. He wanted to use his veterans, but he was leaning like every play down the floor, though, under Malone was like, okay, here's the play, give the ball to Jokic. All right, next time down the court, we're going to give it to Jokic. And they say Jokic is happier that, things are being, giving, other guys are getting a chance to score and to do things on the team. And that's the way he wants to play, is to not have so much burden for scoring and doing everything. So we'll see where they land as far as the eventual coach or whatever. But no, I don't think he is interested in the politics of, who the coach is and who he wants and that type of stuff. I don't think he had or gave any input into what went down and what he wants to happen.
Okay. And that's fair.
His
that's
agent probably did.
Yeah. And I definitely think that the comment about the parade is probably what I'm taking more of than anything else. That's a really good point about it.
Yeah.
All right. We kind of broke down what's going on with the Western Conference. Let's go ahead and actually get into some picks before we jump over to the East. Starting at the top, man. No matter who comes into this game, does anybody expect OKC to not pass the first round?
No. I think they get past the first
round. Not
at
all.
No chance. Yeah.
Denver and the Clippers. Rod, are you smiling like you got a Clippers pick, Raj? That is a Clippers pick smile.
I think this is listen. I said it earlier. The Clippers' success is dependent on Kawhi Leonard. If Kawhi Leonard can stay, this is a big question. Hold on, and before you write down my pick, I'm going to go with Denver because I just don't know how healthy Kawhi Leonard is going to stay during the series. There might be some times throughout the series when they really, really need him to play, and if his knee, of course, I don't want this to happen, but if his knee starts acting up a little bit and he needs to sit, then he's going to have to sit. So with that being said, I'll still with Denver, but this is going to be a close series. This is possibly a 7-game series right here, but I'm gonna lean towards Denver.
Where are you at, E?
I agree mostly with you, Rodg. It could be a 7-game series. This whole thing is going to depend on Kawhi Leonard's knee. How healthy is he going to be? Is he going to be, close to 100% for the entire series? If he is, man, it's hard to pick against him and Tyronn Lue. And then look at the messes in Denver as far as the coach. We don't know what's going to happen with the coach. We don't know what is, some of the younger guys on the team are going to do. If Kawhi is healthy, I have watched this dude play and seen his aura like he was Bruce Leroy, like he was going or something, and just snatched the game away from him. If he's healthy, I'm picking the Clippers to win this game. Too much dysfunction in Denver. Yeah. Although most of the time you want to pick who has the best player. In the between the two teams, who has the best player, that team a lot of times wins. But man, 100% Kawhi Leonard might be better than Jokic.
Nice.
And pair him with the coach,
your official pick,
with the known proven coach.
Yeah.
No, you're right about that. Up.
Oh, I said who are you going with officially without knowing what Kawhi?
What's that? What? I can't hear you. I don't. I don't know. I'm gonna go with the. I'll go ahead and go with the Clippers. I'll pick the Clippers.
All right.
You pick. Well, I'm just hosting, so it's the talent that has to pick.
Okay.
Rockets and the Warriors.
Oh, you go. Okay.
So people don't pay to see me. Yeah. Well, I want to give you guys the most time for your favorite team.
Go ahead, E. I'll let you go first on this one.
Rockets Warriors. This is gonna be another great series when these teams play. You got the young guys over with the Rockets. You got the veterans over in Golden State. Give me Golden State because
I like that pick.
Even though they've blown some leads against some teams they played here recently, they still have the calming forces of Jimmy Butler and Steph. and I think the inexperience of the Rockets is going to hurt them here. So I go with Golden State.
Same here. I know E mentioned that Eman Thompson kind of locked down Steph Curry last game, but I don't think he can do that for 5, 6, 7 games.
Yeah.
Nobody, let's just be honest, Steph's the best shooter we've ever seen. He's going to eat this series. Jimmy Butler's going to help him. Draymond's going to do what Draymond does. I got Golden State winning this series too.
Yeah. I almost feel like Golden State dropped a game or two late to get into the 7th seed to go against the Rockets. Gotcha. Now, you obviously don't want to go through the play-in, but I almost feel like they wanted that path rather than, get into the 6th seed and have to take the Lakers on in the first round. But that's just conspiracy theory. And by the way, my picks would have been so far OKC, Denver, and Golden State for sure. But like you guys said, I agree 1,000% that if somebody can say right now this is how many games that Kawhi Leonard was going to be 100% healthy in this series, then you can make your pick a lot better. But who knows? All right, man. Give you all the most time on your favorite one, Lakers and Wolves, which I assume everybody's picking the Lakers, though.
I'm going with Lakers in 6. Again, this isn't going to be a blowout. I know Shannon Sharp says Lakers in 5. I give the Timberwolves 2 games. Anthony Edwards, we'll see. They split the season series 2-2. The only time that Luka played against Minnesota, we won that game. But I think this is going to be a big series for Anthony Edwards. Some people have said, in the most recent years, he's either the new face of the league. We all know in past with Jordan, LeBron, those guys early on in their careers, they went through some playoff turmoils with teams that they couldn't beat. So this could be huge for Anthony Edwards if he can kind of get over this hurdle in the first round. But I just don't think Minnesota's going to be able to keep up with Luka scoring, LeBron scoring, AR scoring, and then Rui chipping in too, as long as he can stay healthy throughout the series.
Who?
Rui.
Who?
Hachi sauce.
Hachi sauce.
Hachi sauce.
You got to give the man a nickname. You got to go with the nickname, Rodg. Come on.
And for the Minnesota side, obviously, like I said, Anthony Edwards will score, but you can't count it. Rudy Gobert is not going to be an offensive threat. Naz Reid might help out. See what Conley can do. But I just think the Lakers are going to have too much and pour it on. But I will give Minnesota 2 games because the Lakers are known to be sloppy defensively in the second half throughout the season. It's going to happen. They're going to let up. And I feel like there's going to be 1 or 2 games where they just say, listen, maybe we have a 2-1 series lead. If we lose this game, it's not going to kill us. And it is what it is. But I'll go with Lakers in 6.
Same for me, Lakers in 6. Lakers have a 3-headed monster, even though they have no bigs. They've got a 3-headed monster that's going to run Mike Conley right off the floor.
Yep.
And without him out there guiding, what's happening, calming things down, Timberwolves are going to have a lot of trouble. Yeah. You're not going to get any points from Gobert. Julius Randle has not performed well in the playoffs before. Just and then you traded away Karl Anthony Towns, your big man scorer. So I'm going to go with the Lakers in this one.
Agreed.
Probably
Herb.
6 games.
Herb.
Yeah. What?
Beta Alpha, Lady Alpha, Chi Alpha. Lakers in 6.
Really, Rod? So ridiculous. How long did it take you to come up with that one, Rod?
A couple minutes.
Okay. All right. Let's move along with the playoffs. So, second round, you'd have OKC versus either Denver or Clippers for either one of y'all. Who's any one of y'all going with your 4 or 5 pick, or are we going with OKC to make it to the Western Conference Finals?
OKC.
Yeah.
Well, they've only got one guy. Man, they got a lot of dudes. I don't see a number 2 scorer on that team. But look, if you got 4 third scorers, that kind of makes up for it. You don't know where that knockout blow is coming from. So SGA is going to get you with that, with that big punch up the middle, that big uppercut. But all those other guys, it's death by 1,000 cuts, I guess. As they say, a lot of guys, a lot of dudes on that team.
Yep.
And OKC is going to have a lot more rest. They're probably going to sweep their first round series. And again, whoever they play in the 4th, 5th is going to battle out with 6 or 7 games. So They're already young. They're gonna be well rested. They're gonna be ready to move on to the Western Conference Finals. So I got OKC in this one.
Okay. Are y'all even ready? I mean, this is one of those the NBA is salivating sort of series.
Lakers and the Warriors.
Versus the Warriors.
Yeah.
And by the way, if the Rockets Warriors goes to 7 games, you're going to see some of the worst officiating you've ever seen to make sure that the Warriors go on, especially if the Lakers are already over there, because the NBA, and then if something happens in this series and it's about to end in 5, no, this series going 7. They will make sure, like, okay, look, game 7, we'll have the best officials out there. Whoever wins, wins. But we need as many games as possible out of these two teams. But E, we'll start with you. What's your breakdown on the Lakers Warriors series? And are we just disrespecting the Rockets? Look, apology to any Rockets out there. Sorry, but that would be my pick too, man. Golden State versus the Lakers.
Yeah.
We're just going with our picks at this point. So we'll see what the Rockets can do. They haven't proven it. They don't have any proven playoff guys on the team, even though Fred VanVleet has a championship. He wasn't a guy or a dude when they won. That was all Kawhi Leonard.
He was along for the ride.
The Lakers and Warriors would be a very well watched series if we get to that. So I'm picking the Lakers. Butler and Draymond, they can't big boy a Debo a Lakers team with LeBron and the rest of his squad. They it's too much playoff experience and title experience with the Lakers to worry about what Golden State might. I guess both teams have all of that experience, and Golden State doesn't have quite enough scoring punch to go against Luka and LeBron and Reeves, the three-headed monster again. So I got the Lakers over Golden State.
Lakers in 5 over Golden State.
Thought you're just stretching your
mainly.
No,
mainly East Point. When again it comes down to scoring.
Yeah.
They'll have Butler and Steph Curry, but Butler's not gonna be out there popping a lot of threes and keeping it in check. And then I think the Lakers will do a good defensive matchup to try to limit Steph Curry from going all out every single game. So I'm gonna go with the Lakers in 5.
Yeah, I think they would have too much for him. And Steph, there's always a game or two, it seems like, in a series where he just can't get enough of it. And I don't trust Butler enough. And then you don't have a three-headed monster. Draymond's getting you 0 scoring.
Draymond's doing, he's just gonna be the aggravator, buddy.
He's out there. Yep. So
hey, Herb. Draymond Green, Mean Green, you know what I mean.
Oh my goodness! All right, so who's making it to the NBA Finals? OKC versus the Lakers. What Thunder joke do you have, Rodg? Oklahoma City Thunder, land down
SGA, under. NBA, ABA, Lakers in 7. Yeah,
you can tell we're from Alabama. You got to count his fingers. Make sure he got that one right. Dang, Rodg.
I mean, it's gonna be. I'm gonna go with the Lakers, but that's a tough matchup because OKC has that youth, and they're gonna be well
in size, man. If Holmgren and Hartenstein are both still healthy by this point.
Yep, and I don't want people to get carried away from I guess I don't know if it was the last game or the game before that when the Lakers just kind of put when they mollywopped OKC. That was just one game, but again, OKC's got everything the Lakers don't. But they got their potential MVP SGA. They got the size. They're young. They're let's be honest. Prior to this Western Conference Finals, they may only lose like 1 or 2 games, and the Lakers are going to be going to 6-7 game series prior to that. Yeah. LeBron's going to be tired. Luka's going to be Luka. Luka's still going to eat. But with all that being said, and I may sound like OKC's going to win, I got to ride with the Lakers. I'm gonna.
I think if you're a Lakers fan, you have to pick the Lakers in this series. Yeah. Like I don't see how I would get away from that. Yeah. I'm picking OKC, but it's hard for me to pick a team that's still that young to me to win it.
Yeah.
But like I'm still gonna take them, but I don't see how if you're a Lakers fan, you don't take them.
Yeah.
So where are you at?
Yeah, with that being said, I'm a Lakers fan and I'm picking OKC. I'm going to be rooting hard for the Lakers, but OKC is too balanced. They've got every position. They're solid at every single position. So if somebody doesn't show up, they're still bringing guys off the bench who can do, get you 15 points or so, and get you and contribute to winning. The Lakers just don't have a big, not one, who can really contribute to the team or counteract what Chet and Jay Will are doing for OKC. So next year, hopefully this summer, the Lakers will get a big man that can really, really help. Yeah. But I just don't see the completeness of OKC being beat by the Lakers, who are, they got the three-headed monster. Well, then what? As far as, but then you got OKC, they got the top guy, and then a bunch of dudes. They don't have a number two, but man, when you got all those low spades, you got a handful of low spades, I think OKC will probably beat the Lakers. But I think it will be a good series.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree. I think the experience will go a long way in evening that series up. I do think OKC is, like you said, better overall, but that's a tough one. And then you're going to see the conditioning. Where was Dallas right about Luka's conditioning at this point, or is he in peak, playoff form? So it worked for him last year until he came up against a much better team of Boston. So we'll see.
Also, at that point, how healthy is LeBron?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Once they get to that point, going against those young legs, is his groin 100%? Probably not. And after a grueling playoff series, at that point, he might be kind of drained.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Mm-hmm. All right, let's hurry up and get over into the East. I always start the West. It just feels like the more interesting conference and more storylines. When you got the Warriors at 7, you just have more to talk about. So we'll quickly go through this one with the East. No apologies to the East folks, but I feel like there's one way that this is really gonna play out. Any surprises in the East before we get into picks? And now we do know our final.
Kudos to the Pistons. Kudos to the Pistons for having a really, really good season and just trying to turn things around there. Even when their season started to go uphill, I didn't think they would get as high as the 6th seed. Some people might not think the 6th seed is high, but again, for the Pistons fans, that's good for them. They avoided the play-in, so that was my big surprise. Everything else was just, it seems like for the East, 1 through 3 was pretty much set, pretty much the entire year, pretty much since like November. It's like 1 through 3 was just, right there. So yeah, I would say the Pistons for me.
Definitely the Pistons. Biggest surprise this year. You fire your coach in the summer. You bring in somebody new. You bring in some veterans, and it's kind of, it's seemed at the time like it might be just a bunch of mismatched parts that didn't make any sense. But the coach has really fit the pieces together. Done a great job. Got them to 6. They're making a lot of noise. Cade Cunningham is a star in the making, potential superstar. And this will be a great experience for him. And we'll see how far he can carry his team. Another surprise in the East is the Orlando Magic. They had a crazy up and down year, but they have consistently played excellent defense all year. So shout out to Jamal Mosley, the coach over there. Great defensive team. Throwback to the 90s, 80s and 90s style of play. Don't have a lot of shooters, and they're still missing a Wagner brother
out for the year.
But big surprise that they came in and made it, to 7th after all the injuries they had this year.
Yeah. It's been a while since a team has had every single starter and every single star that you had that was any good hurt for a significant amount of times and still get to the 7th. So I love that pick. So all right, with that being said, let's start at the top. Cavs versus the Heat. Yeah, I mean it's got to be right. Like I think the Heat have maxed themselves out for the year. Unless somebody has a good Heat pick in them.
No.
Unless Jimmy Butler's walking back through that door.
The Heat are going to cool down in the first series.
You were just waiting. Like I can tell you were loading something up. Like, oh God, here he waiting on something.
Yeah, I see the Cavs sweeping the Heat. That's not going to be close.
No. An interesting one, I guess, with the bad blood with these two teams, and I guess Lillard maybe being back maybe by game 2, I guess.
Yes.
At this point, Pacers versus the Bucks.
I think the Pacers might run them off the floor.
Yep.
As much as Giannis is a gazelle running up and down the court, the Pacers are really, really fast. They have bigs who can compete with Giannis and Brook Lopez. A little bit surprising they made it all the way to 4, but Dame's been out a bit. Milwaukee slid. He's not going to be 100% for this series. So I'm going to take the Pacers. Good team playing great ball.
Same here. And to Herb's point, like the news about it was interesting about the news about Damian Lillard because a couple of days ago he's going to be out, pretty much the first round indefinitely, basically. Then yesterday we hear the word he's like, oh well, he's cleared to play almost for game 1 or maybe game 2, whatever the case may be. I don't think he'll be back this series. To be honest with you, I don't see him playing at all. I got the Pacers in this one, and I'm glad you wanted to bring this game up because my question to you two is, how much longer do you see Giannis in Milwaukee?
That was about to be my question, Rog.
I think he's signed through like 2027, but he's already made it clear like he doesn't want to stay somewhere if they're basically not competing. And it's not going to happen with Dame Lillard. It's just not going to happen.
It's not. It's not. Now those guys aren't even finishing seasons. So and I forgot what the last he'll probably help me on this one, the last contract he signed. But every time these guys goes out and signs their extension and signs for bigger money, I don't know if they realize it just makes you harder to trade when you're ready to walk away. We think about these as huge money, but if an NBA star is making like 30 million, there's a way to work around them. When you're making 50, it's like the other team has to give up so much. Now, having said that, Giannis will be one of the most sought after. His trade will be what the Luka trade should have been. If it gets to that point, and then the Bucks can completely reset. But man, I think another year, and he's asking out if they get through the whole next year. So I don't know. Where do you think, Am I totally wrong on that read, or where do you think the frustration level with Giannis gets to?
No, it's whispers that if the team doesn't get turned around, he will want to leave Milwaukee for greener pastures or for a bigger city. He's been 10 plus years in a really small place, which was good for him when he was younger because he could develop. He had to do a lot of developing, but now that he's established, I'm right down the street from Milwaukee, and I can tell you, I don't need to go there for anything. I've got all of the stuff that I need right here. He might be thinking the same thing. He might be thinking, maybe I can go get this extra marketing money in New York or LA or one of these other places. And he's definitely. I wouldn't blame him at all for asking to leave. Milwaukee would be heartbroken, but it's all about winning. I kind of feel like the Bucks are more concerned with making money than winning more championships. Looking at how they've built the team around him, but I don't see how they can improve the team they have. They don't have many assets. Exactly. Dame is old. So you get to the point, okay, let's go ahead and trade Giannis, get the most that we can get, and rebuild, start over.
Yeah. His cap hit is 54, then 58, and 62. So that to me, that's the only barrier you basically have to give up half your team to get for him. Or you want to look at the cap, 35%. So you have to give up 35% of your team to get him and, boatload of picks. But for the right team, I definitely see it'll probably be a Phoenix Sun in a couple of years, and then he'll be missing. I mean, that seems to be their strategy.
Well, like I said, he's 30 right now.
Barring all the salary cap stuff.
Yeah, he signed through 2027.
Barring all the salary cap stuff, what team would you guys like to see him on?
Who, Giannis?
barring all the salary cap stuff.
Forget all about how all the stuff has to happen. Go ahead.
It'd be interesting if you could trade a whole bunch of crap from OKC and get him there with SGA. Because then you have an inside-outside guy. So I could see something like that.
I'm not gonna say the Lakers because we would have to give up too much to get him, and then you'd have to
just be
bench, and then you only have one basketball with Luka, LeBron, and Giannis. That's just too much going on.
Yeah. I like OKC because I think you have a million assets to give up, and it's like you said, you got like 8 guys on the team, right? You can give up 4 or 5 of them, still have a really good team, and then have a guy like Giannis. So
yeah, I can see that.
OKC off the top of my head, out of what you got going on out here.
Yeah.
So
that would be crazy, especially if you can get him and keep Chet.
Yeah,
you got Giannis and Chet as the big man. That would be
ridiculous,
unfair.
Shout out to Jeff.
I won't show it to you tonight, Jeff. But the pinky says hello, man. And I'm gonna save your other comment for when we get to the finals one. We'll think. But appreciate you stopping by, man. Way off. So we were on their show last night. Great group of guys, man. Jeff came to join us last Saturday. He's a little upset we didn't warn him that he should have brought some liquor with him. So next time we get him on, we'll tell him bring a drink. But man, Jeff, we appreciate you and appreciate the guys. All right, let's keep on moving here. The Knicks and the Pistons.
This is gonna be an interesting one, man. I'll take the Knicks in 5 or maybe even 6. I think the Pistons have enough fight out to get a few wins out of this one. So I'll say the Knicks in 6.
And the Knicks defense hasn't been what it has been in past years. So I think this would be interesting. But the Knicks only seem to lose to all the teams above them, I guess, rather than
basically.
What you got, E?
I'm taking the Knicks. Taking the Knicks also. They got a great group of guys. Hopefully Bronson can get close to 100% with the inexperience of the Pistons. Got to take the Knicks.
Yes. Yeah, I think so too. If the Knicks go out in the first round, does Thibs get fired? Is he on the way out?
There's chatter about that if he gets. I mean, but if Jalen Bronson is hurt, then how do you fire him at that point? He has an out. But yes, if it looks really bad, he could get fired, or they could break up the Villanova guys.
Yeah.
Somebody else might get pushed out. Yeah, break them up even more. But yeah, if they lose bad, he's gone.
Yeah, I agree. Celtics versus Magic. I mean, can I just take these Celtics?
I got Boston sleeping there.
Yeah. They just don't have enough firepower, I think, to get through the whole series. So working our way back up, Celtics versus the Knicks.
Oh, go ahead, E. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, Celtics.
Yeah.
So even I got one concern, but I don't think that concern with Jaylen Brown comes into play even against the Knicks because they're
and what is it? It's his knee, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's his knee.
Yeah.
But yeah, still taking. They got a starting 6 in Boston, so you lose one guy, you still got a great starting 5 with some good guys coming off the bench. So yeah, still the Celtics.
Yeah,
and I agree with that. The Knicks just seemed like they topped out at the 3rd seed and couldn't really get past that point. Cavs, Pacers.
Cavs.
I think if not now, win for the Cavs.
Yeah.
I think it might be a very entertaining series up and down.
I think so too.
But yeah, still Cavs.
Yeah. The Pacers style of play just kind of keeps you in every game until the one game nobody's hitting anything and then they lose by 30. But they'll still come back the next game and play like they forgot that game. Yeah. So I like their style. So, and this is why I wanted to speed through the East, because I just felt like all roads led to Cavs versus Celtics, and I didn't think anybody would pick like a whole lot of upsets or even possibilities. So, E, we'll start with you, man. What are you thinking, Cavs, Celtics? This should be a fun series.
I think it comes down to Jaylen Brown and how close he is to 100%. If he is close to 100%, Celtics all day. They just got too many guys. Cavs have 4 guys. Celtics have like 7 or 8 who will really contribute, put up points, play good defense. So yeah, I got We got the Celtics.
Same here. Celtics are battle tested, been here before, defending champions.
TJ.
They know exactly what
Appreciate
it takes.
TJ stopping in.
Yeah, I got to go with Boston too for all the points that you just said.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Cavs just because we know a couple more Cavs fans. But
oh wow,
you guys are exactly right. Well, we had the last person we had on our show for either one of these teams was a Cavs person, so we're gonna go with the Cavs. My issue here, and this is, I hate to even bring this up, but Donovan Mitchell just seems to get hurt in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just like my memory of his biggest things, but it's like the guy hit 30 and then missed like the next 2 games. So Are they picking Cavs in the first round, or are you picking because we've got them into Eastern Conference Final?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where we got them at. So they've got the Celtics, and then Jeff, we'll go to your. So you guys are with the Celtics versus the Thunder. Well, one of you got the Lakers, one of you got the Thunder for it, right? Put Jeff's up there now. Jeff, Thunder over the Celtics in 7. SJ will cement, And does that trade just look worse and worse for with the Clippers and the Thunder giving up a guy like SGA? You could have just stood pat and just had him there at this point, but that's neither.
I guess the Clippers never thought he would get to this status right here. So
By the way, this
networks
would go crazy.
Yes. People were complaining about ratings all year. This would solve that problem.
I'm telling you, if that's what happened, I guarantee a 6 or 7 game series. Like I said, you'll have shady officiating to make sure that it gets to a certain point. Then they'll just let them play. But this would be nuts. So, and Jeff, I think about it every time I see this. This is just, I don't know. Have you ever just seen a franchise that is, you're almost guaranteeing that they go up 3-1 on Denver, and then Kawhi sits out the rest of the series for something. I don't want to wish an injury on him, but there are things that happen to the Clippers that just don't happen to other franchises over and over again. So before you guys have, we'll start with you, Rodg. You have the Dream Series, Lakers
Celtics
versus Boston. Yep. Is there any world where you pick Boston to win this one?
Absolutely not.
What if I told you LeBron and Luka quit? Would you still take the Lakers?
My concern about the series is Jalen guarding Luka. We've seen Jalen guard Luka before, and he does a good job at that. Other concern is LeBron's health. If they make it to the finals, he's going to be tired. He's going to be beat up. He's going to need some rest.
Especially with the route that you guys would have them getting there.
Exactly. Boston's probably going to have a little. Boston's not going to get tested until the ECF. We're going to be tested from basically the first round on. So the Lakers are going to be beat up going into the finals if they make it that far. But I'm still going to take Lakers. I'll take Lakers in 6. I'll take Lakers in 6 over Boston.
Okay. You've got OKC versus Boston. Where are you going up with that one?
Got to go with Boston. It is very rare that a young team comes through. Yeah, Rodg, I'm still a Lakers fan. Sorry, dude. But,
you heard Rodg twice, though.
It's all good. It's all good.
That a team as young as OKC comes through without their playoff scars and wins a championship. Took Boston like 4 or 5 years to keep knocking on the door and finally break through. And they've got the same team as last year. They've got size to match up against OKC. They got all the pieces 1 through 5 to match up and just do what they did last year with the experience. I think some of the players for OKC will wither under the lights. And I would have to take Boston over OKC.
Yeah. He said, Rodg, the LA Lucas are getting out of the West. Yep. And have a chance to get revenge just Boston. Yeah. No, I think that's an excellent point. The only reason why I would go against any of it would be I never pick repeats. So I'm all wrong frequently. I think in mine, I would have to take OKC over the Cavs, but it's probably one of the worst iterations of this. I don't know that the NBA would love that series at all. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But some good picks there, man. Some good I don't know. This is I think, Raj, while we always talk about it, we kind of skip the regular season, and then once the playoffs get here, you guys, you really have our full attention.
Yeah.
So, And what do you say? Your Lakers are playing tomorrow night. We're gonna have a
tomorrow
wild show tomorrow night. We'll be on around 7:30. Lakers will be playing. WrestleMania will be on. So it'll be a very, very distracted show. So anybody wants to stop by and say what's up to us, please do so. Final thoughts, yes, man, sir. on this this season and how the excitement level for the playoffs.
There are going to be some really great series in these playoffs, especially if we get Lakers, Warriors. Yep. I think there's going to be a great series. But I'm interested to know who you guys are picking for MVP for the season. It's between SGA and Jokic. So I don't know how much y'all have watched, but y'all have probably seen the highlights.
Yeah. I think it's going to be SGA, but it's to me, there's a certain part of it. So I'll put it like Tony Romo put it when it was Lamar versus Josh Allen. He said because Lamar's won a couple and Josh hasn't won, he thinks the voting tends to go that way. He said if Josh had won a couple and Lamar hadn't won one, he think it would tend to go that way. But being in the MVP race and then happening to also be the number one overall seed, not just in the West, I think that's the part that'll go past this, which is a shame because Jokic just having a career year by a guy who's won multiple MVPs. He's playing even better, even through the dysfunction. But having said all that, I think SGA is going to win it. I think SGA.
Same here. I think they're going to give it to SGA. I think was it 1 or 2 years ago when they gave it to Embiid because they really didn't want Joker to pull like the three-peat or whatever. They're trying to get away from that, so they'll probably give it to SGA. Even though Joker's numbers,
are crazy.
They're going to be the same way next year.
30-point triple-double is his average for the 30-point triple-double.
I agree. Yeah, I didn't say it was right. I just think that's where the voting ends up going because they're human. But no, you're talking about a guy who stepped up his game, who every year they're losing one key piece from their team, and it's not a starter. So I think they think, we're keeping the starting core. Yeah, but you're losing a key starter, a key bench person every single year. There's dysfunction, and his numbers are getting better. No, that's just crazy, especially at his size to do what he's doing. Even adding a little bit of a 3-point shot, good for a couple of games. Mm-hmm. Dude's amazing, but I think SGA gets it. So.
Yep.
Okay. All right, man. Like we said, we appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for dropping by. When we had this was the shortest conversation we had. I was like, Raj, you want to do NBA one? Yeah. Do you want to bring somebody on? He said, yeah. What's E doing? So I was like, the whole conversation to get you on here, man. So like we said, we appreciate you bringing.
I appreciate y'all having me, man. Definitely enjoy it.
Yes, sir. No problem, man. We'll touch base again in these playoffs and see how it's going and see how wrong my picks were and how right your guys were. So that should make everybody feel good. So for the HerbnRodg podcast, like we said, check us out tomorrow night, 7:30. It's going to be a crazy one. I don't even know if we're going to plan anything other than watch along stuff. And then back here next Tuesday for Rodg's birthday bash. So appreciate everybody. Enjoy your looks like Dallas hasn't shown up yet, so you haven't missed anything if you're trying to watch the next play-in game. Y'all have a wonderful night, and as always, roll tide.
Roll Tide.